Should I just
This is
look
our
at
big
Stephanie?
thing.
Yeah, we
Yes,
just look at each other.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just conversation.
Not looking at the camera.
Okay.
Oh, I have to be in front of both cameras.
How do I start this? How do I start talking? How do I open?
Hi, I'm Stephanie, and
Okay.
we're here with
Jennie.
Could you please scoot just the microphone, just scoot that all behind you. Yeah, if you
Okay.
sat there, I see a little bit of your cable, the black part, yeah. Okay, I think I'm good. All right, and anytime.
Oh, I have a question first. Do I talk to you guys or do I talk to just Jennie?
Talk to this camera at first.
Okay.
Both of you can look at this camera at
Oh,
first,
okay.
and then it's strictly conversational,
Okay.
and we're invisible.
Okay.
Just a little bit less headroom.
Just a little less headroom.
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
That's great.
Anytime.
Okay. Hi, my name's Stephanie. Today I'm joined by Jennie. She is a longtime member of the Donna Smallwood Community Center, and I'm going to be asking her some questions about her Ukrainian heritage, her past professions, and just anything else she'd like to talk about and share with me. Hi, Jennie.
Hi, Stephanie.
So I'm going to start way back when you were born in Rochester, New York. Could you tell me when your birthday is and just a little bit about that?
I was born in Rochester, New York in February 11th, 1932, with my mother and father close by. I was the youngest of 3 children, my 2 older brothers. My mother had the 3 of us in 4 years, so we were kind of close in age.
Yeah.
My 2 brothers, Chuck and John, and then myself, so we were kind of close in age.
And you shared with me that you had gone to an all-girls high school that was run by Ukrainian nuns. Can you share a
Yes.
little bit about that?
Well, I went to, first of all, I went to public school nearby, and then the nuns from our church, the Sister Servants of Mary Immaculate, had a convent school near New York City. It's actually in the Ramapo Hills, about 17 miles from New York City, and it's an all-girls St. Mary'sville Academy, and so when they encouraged us as girls to go to the academy for school. So I went there for my last 2 years of high school. There were 2 other young ladies from Rochester that went also. So we would get on the train, New York Central train at night, and then we'd be on the train all night, and we get to Grand Central Station in the morning, check our luggage, and then we go out for the town and have a good time all day.
Sounds like a nice time, yeah. So you also shared with me that you were in the Ukrainian Youth Association for
There was a
many
Ukrainian
years.
Youth League of North America. That was one organization. It was and then the other organization was Ukrainian Catholic, League of Ukrainian Catholics. I belonged to that through our church, and so I belonged to both of the organizations, getting together with the people from our church and also from different cities. We'd have conventions and sports rallies, and we'd have all kinds of activities going on. I was active in both organizations.
Did you have a most favorite event that you went to for the Ukrainian?
Well, we had at our church, we had a basketball team. So the young men from our church used to play basketball with other teams in other cities.
Wow.
We'd go to Syracuse, we'd go to Elmira, New York, we'd go to Buffalo and play basketball, and so we would follow them, of course, by bus, and so that was enjoyable.
And you also shared that you spent a lot of your early 20s traveling around with your
Oh
friends.
yes, when I got out of school, I traveled a lot, and vacation. I went to Bermuda. I went to Rochester Institute of Technology night school. I took art because I
Wow.
enjoyed art, so I studied. But I traveled Bermuda and other locations. Used to vacation. Used to ski in the winter and go play in summer.
Did you have a favorite destination to visit?
No, well, at that time, I didn't go to Europe then, but we went to Puerto Rico, we went to Mexico, we traveled in other locations, the islands a lot, nearby.
It's very cool. And you shared with me that you had visited Ukraine twice in your life.
Yes, yes, we did. I was as an adult, and we went there with my husband and I. And the first time we went was in 1979, and we went, my mother and my brother, my husband and I, and we went to where my father was born
Wow.
in Ukraine, and that was in the major part of Ukraine, near Lviv. We could only go to certain cities because you only got a visa to visit certain cities, didn't get permission to go everywhere. We could not go into the village where my father was born. But when we got to Lviv, which is the closest city, the relatives came to visit us at the hotel, and we said we would pay for their lodging and everything if they wanted to stay overnight. Well, then the following morning, we made arrangements to go early in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning, and we got into 2 taxi cabs, and then they took the cabs down this one road all the way into their village, and that's where my father's village was. So we did get to see 5 different houses in the villages, which was quite remarkable. Because at the time, they were under communism. This was in 59, not 59, it was in 79. They were under communism, and we didn't know if they still had religion. But every single home that we went into had a beautiful icon of the Blessed Mother or any of the religious hanging on the wall with a ruchnik around it, which is an embroidered cloth very much like this. It was a cloth that draped around the surface of the frame of the painting, and we knew that they had religion. They just could not openly express their religion with communism there nearby, because they had to follow the rules of communism. It was very, very strange. Yes, we did get to see all their houses and how they lived. And then we went the second time, but we did not go into the village. We did not want them to get into trouble, because they got into trouble the last time, because they knew that the neighbors talked.
Oh.
So everybody talked about all these people who were there. And so they always know you're there. They know where you're at. So we said, no, you come into the city. And we brought things for them. At the time, we brought an awful lot of stuff for them, because at the time you couldn't send anything, or you could send it was very expensive. But they were always looking for embroidery cotton, because their embroidery thread wasn't as good as ours. Our DMC thread here was excellent. The colors were color fast, and they could use ours very easily. And then always jeans. They were always looking for jeans. Or babushkas.
Mm-hmm.
Our babushkas are beautiful. So we took an awful lot with us, and as much as we could to distribute, to our relatives there. And because if they couldn't use it, they could sell it, and they could, use the money for other things that they needed. It was quite an experience, but we were happy that we at least got to see what we did see,
Mm-hmm.
and we would probably go back again, but right now, of course, there's a war going on, and which is a pathetic thing.
Absolutely. So you
Very.
mentioned your husband had been traveling with you on these trips.
Yes.
Would you tell me how you met your husband?
Oh, well, here, all my activities, I met many, many people, from other cities. And of course, when we'd have a executive board meeting, of course, we'd meet during the day, but then at night, we always danced. We had dinner. We went out, we danced. He was a good dancer, very, very good. And he had been single. He worked for Ohio Bell Telephone. And he used to call me all the time, of course, because he worked in central office. He worked in Lakewood, so he worked in central office. So we were on the phone a lot, and I thought it was, kind of strange to be on the phone for hours,
Yeah.
Just talking and talking. And of course, he could do that easily because he was there and he could connect himself. But that was the way. And then I wasn't really thinking of getting married right away, because I was still doing things, and I was excited about traveling and doing stuff, and very, very involved with. I did Ukrainian dancing. I used to do the Ukrainian Easter eggs. I used to teach it. I used it to people because a lot of people didn't know how to do it, especially a lot of the people that during the war they were in Germany or they were in other countries, and they never learned how to do a lot of these art things because they were not introduced to it. So I used to show them how to do all the artworks and stuff. I was involved with our choir, our church choir, our church choir, and the Ukrainian dancing and teaching dancing, and showing how to do the eggs. And I was always on television. I was on the radio and television, showing people how to do this, even as a young person.
Wow.
Growing up.
It sounds like you've been integral in keeping the Ukrainian faith
Traditions.
alive. Yes.
Well, I wanted to keep them myself, because they're very beautiful, and that's my heritage. So I learned how to do all the fine things in life. I'm not that good at cooking, but I knew how to do all the art things, the artsy things.
I'd like to touch more on these eggs. You told me that you taught classes to people.
Taught classes. I used to teach it in adult education here in Parma.
Really?
They had adult education classes at Parma High School, so I would teach it there, and it was like a 9-week course. And when you studied like for 9 weeks, you'd at least make a dozen eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every week we would do a different design or a different separation of the eggs, and they get a little of the history. They get more of the history of the country and of the people, and they get the maps out. I get everything out so that they learn an awful lot about Ukraine, around their customs, and what the meaning of all the different designs were, and of course try to do the different designs. I'd have samples for them to follow. They could follow those, or they could repeat them, or they could make pictures of them. And these are not the best looking of my eggs. I have others that are more beautiful, but these are the ones I just found to show you.
Thank you. Thank
to
you
bring
for
to
bringing
you
them.
today. But the eggs are symbolic of our nationality, and they personify life. They're actually life. The life is contained within an egg, and this goes way back into pagan times. 2,000 years ago, people used to wonder why, how could this happen? How could life come from an egg? How could life come forth from an egg? Because it's unknown to me, but that's what the way it is. Of course, they have to be fertilized, by a rooster, and so that's the true thing. But they would dry up. Eventually, they would dry up, and sometimes the yolk inside would become a hard yolk, and you'd have a rattle in there. Well, the eggs that I do, eventually I do empty them, because I want them to be whole and without a yolk inside. So I do empty them, and so they're lightweight. They're like an open balloon, but they'll stay that way for 1,000 years. And people they give them away as gifts. If you were a young lady and you're trying to impress some young man that you were kind of interested in getting his eye, and say, marry him and stuff, have him get involved with you, then naturally you give him the most beautiful egg you had.
So you've had some interesting work history, from working in hospitals to making the eggs to working on classified military projects, right?
Exactly.
Of all those jobs you've worked, which one did you feel most fulfilled at?
Most
Yes.
of them. Well, I think when I worked with the military, we worked on the B-52 bomber, and that was a tremendous thing. I was secretary of the chief inspector, and so we had the officials come in all the time because they had to check everything out, and I had to be very careful with all the documents that I handled in that essence. But that was a really, really big part of my life, and I felt, very fulfilled with doing that kind of work at the time, with the work that I did then.
How many years did you do that for?
Well, that was only for about 4 years, and then I went on to another job, and then later on, I worked at Stromberg Carlson, and they too, I was in military marketing, so I was secretary to some of the men that went out to bid on some of the work that they were getting from other businesses, other military work that they were handling in the that section.
Cool. And then next I wanted you to share a little bit about your time working as a translator for...
Okay. I was active in our church, and I used to go to Ukrainian school every day. My mother, and father would send me to American school, and then I'd come home. We'd have a snack, the two of us, two brothers and myself, and then we'd walk from our house to our Ukrainian school at church, and we were there from 4 to 6 every day, and we'd learn how to read and write and sing, and we were in plays. We did the dancing. We did an awful lot of talking. We did an awful lot of that, and we didn't talk in Ukrainian at home too much, but we did at the school, and so we learned all of the customs, traditions, and all the things that go along with growing up as a Ukrainian, and we'd have a play, we would have programs at our church. I sang in the choir, and the young men at our church used to have a basketball team, so naturally we would follow the basketball team. They would play in other cities, other Ukrainian churches, so we would follow them by bus and go to the games. So it was very, very rewarding, very busy, kept busy all the time. We were always busy doing things. Vacation, we would vacation a lot with the family.
Mm-hmm.
We used to vacation up in the Adirondack Mountains.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really nice. We used to go skiing up there in the Adirondack Mountains. And then there was a Ukrainian resort up in the Adirondacks. It was in Ellenville, near well, it was closer to New York City, but we would vacation there at this resort and meet a lot of other people there too. So we were active in both organizations, with the Catholics or with the national, the national group.
And could you share some about your volunteer work you did and the Action Vista program that you worked on
Okay,
there?
that was, so they were, the mayor at the time was Ralph Perk, and he was of Czech heritage. And so our greatest concern was the fact that a lot of these older people couldn't speak English. So they didn't know how to get anything that was available to them, because they couldn't read it and they couldn't write it. They didn't know what it was about. They didn't know how to fill out forms. And so at the time, there was an Action Vista program that had started. It was called Senior Ethnic Find, F-I-N-D, helping older people that couldn't speak English. And this was a very, very important program. So somebody recommended that I represent the Ukrainians. I was one of them once. There were 2 other men that also were able to represent them too, Ukrainians, on this program. And so I became an Action Vista volunteer. So I went to Chicago for 2 weeks and got indoctrinated and got as an Action Vista person. I received a small stipend every month. I don't know, it was like $200 a month or something. But we were on duty for 24 hours a day, to help older people who needed our help. And that would entail us to either accompany them to the Social Security office, we could visit them in the hospital, help them fill out forms, translate for them, be with them when they needed us to be there for them, or we could just accompany them or go with them or fill out forms with them. So we were available if they needed any help in any way to be able to understand what they have coming to them that they have no idea about. We would attend a lot of the meetings that they had, senior citizen meetings. All of our people were bilingual. They spoke English and their native language. There were about 60 different languages, but we didn't have somebody represent everybody. But those persons who did were able to get literature from us in our office and take it to them. They could come to the office and meet with us. We could help them. We had an office at City Hall, and we also had one in Tremont above the health center on Professor. And so half the time I was at City Hall, and the other half I was in Tremont and in the office there. But it was very vital that we do this for them. One of our German representative, he was on the radio every single week, and he would talk in German and talk to people and tell them what was available. At the time, there were a lot of nationality shows on, I think it was WVIZ, had a lot of different nationalities come and talk on the air and tell people about certain things that were available to them that they didn't know about, but they could go and get, or they could get help from us, and we could help them fill out the forms and do all of this wonderful stuff that they have coming. They have benefits coming, but they have no idea how to get them. And so we went on for about 17 years. We went through Perk and Kucinich, Voinovich, and finally when Mike White came in, he knocked us out. He didn't want us anymore. He wanted to do his own thing. He wanted to do everything with his own people. And so this was in 1990. And so we were out. So I had no more respect for him. So I thought, no, I couldn't work for the city anymore under him. So I left. I left the city. And but we continued to do the work that we were doing because we were still available to them as volunteers. We thought it was still important to do, and the people still needed help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we were there. We were there as much as we could be.
It sounds like you really impacted your community
Well,
for years.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. I'm here to do something important.
Yeah.
Because when I get up there and he says, "What did you do? what did you do for a living?" I say, "Well, I think I did something good." I hope I did something good.
So, along with serving your community, you shared with me that were you a Ward 1 council member?
I was a Ward 1 council person.
What did that entail?
Well, not really much. I worked in the voting booth.
Okay.
Worked in the voting booth, and then I would attend meetings. I like to come to City Hall sometimes. I'd attend the mayor's meetings on Monday night sometime to find out what's going on at City Hall because I was interested in my city. You know, I was interested
Absolutely.
in local things anyway. But I took an active role in becoming, active, in the community. And if they needed my help, I was there. We right now we have a group in our community because it's an old community, and it's a Greenbrier Association, and so I'm kind of inactive there. But I did start some programs in my own neighborhood. I started to decorate all the street signs with Christmas decorations, with the roping, the green roping, and then with big red bows on them. So
That
all the
sounds
street signs
festive.
had that. And then, of course, we spread that. Then we got a little bit bigger, and I think since 1989, that's since 1989. And then I started to, the Christmas Eve, we have these big jugs, of water, water jugs. And so what we do is we light a candle for the Christ Jesus, at 5 o'clock Christmas Eve. So we have a candle up and down the sidewalks, up and down the streets on Christmas Eve in our neighborhood. So that's something I started, within
Sounds
the
beautiful.
neighborhood. So we keep active doing things, within our realm.
You sound like you're always moving.
Well, not anymore. I don't even pull my weeds anymore. They just grow and grow and grow. I got to get somebody else to help me because it's too much for me to do.
I get that. Oh, and then another question. You built a low-income housing in Parma.
Oh, yes.
The
We
manor?
knew housing was important, and low-income housing was very important. And all the low-income housing went to the east side of Cleveland. They get 200 units all the time.
Wow.
We never got any. We didn't get one. And so I kept trying to apply to HUD. We have an organization in our Ukrainian group, Poltava Center Incorporated. Poltava is the name of a city in Ukraine. And so this corporation was going to build elderly housing in Parma. Well, that didn't go over too well at one time because they didn't want housing in Parma. And so that's under Petrushka, and all the other officials. But anyways, we wanted housing in Parma. So we kept applying, we applied, and we kept applying all the time. Finally, after all these years, we did get housing approved. It was only for 62 units, but that was approved in 1989. And so we went to HUD and showed them where we wanted to build it, because we had some land and we were going to build it close to our church. But then HUD said, no, it's a little too noisy there. We have to find some other location. And so we looked everywhere, found out that the Jesuit Retreat House was getting rid of their land that was beyond their cemetery, and it was all woods, all wooded area. And so we appealed to them if we could buy some of their land. So they said they would sell us, and then HUD said, well, you can only buy what you can use for your building. So so the building was going to be a 3-story building. So they tore down a lot of those trees, and that was the Muir Woods right at the end of Torrington and 24th Street, and that's where the John Muir School is, down at the end of that street. And so you could only get enough land for the housing and the parking lot, and so that's what we built. We built it's 62 units, and it's low income. That means if your income is low enough, you can afford to live there. And if it's low, you only pay 30% of your adjusted income.
Wow.
That means you deduct all the expenses you pay for medical expenses, and then you come up with a figure, 30% of that. Some people who are on welfare, they may only pay $25 a month, and that's affordable for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that people can afford to live there. Well, we opened that building.
What's it called?
It's Shevchenko Manor.
Okay.
It's in honor of Taras Shevchenko. Taras Shevchenko was a poet. He was everything. He was a poet. He was an artist. He was a wonderful person, a musician. He was a bard. He went from village to village and talked to people and sang and had poetry. And he was very well known in the Ukrainian community. So they named him after Taras Shevchenko. And so that's the building is there. It's brick, beautiful building with 62 units. And we have a housing group that has managed it so that it's affordable for people. You have to get on a waiting list. Of course, you know, the waiting list is quite long. They have to wait like, I might wait 4 or 5 years in order,
Wow.
yeah, because there's only 62 units, you know, but it's real. I was manager of it for about 8 years.
Did you live on site?
Oh yeah, I live
Oh, wow.
in Parma, but there was another manager who was the manager when it first opened, and then she was there for about 3 years or so. Then I was there for about 8 years, and then I finally gave it up because in 1991, my husband was getting worse. He had a heart problem, and so I thought, no, I have to stay home. So then I stayed home, and somebody else managed it, but it's still there, yeah, and it's wonderful because it's safe. It's in a nice wooded area. The people are safe where they live. There's a parking lot. They have activities going on all the time. So it's really, really safe and wonderful. They should have more of those houses
Sounds
here.
beautiful, yeah.
It really is nice. There is another handicap building. It's on Ridge Road, just beyond a day drive, but it's all handicapped. You have to be handicapped to live there. But that went up a year before ours did. But ours was built for the elderly, ours were handicapped and the elderly, but mostly for the elderly. You have to be over 62 and be able to live independently,
Yes.
because it's independent living.
You've really done some admirable work.
Well, it's all, you know, I'm here to do things.
Yes.
Yeah, as long as you use me, because I'm here, I'm available as long as I can do something important. You know, I'll do it. I don't do as much now as I did before. Now I enjoy myself at the senior center.
What do you do? What's your favorite activity at the seniors?
Well,
What do you like to
I
do?
used to do the line dancing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did that. I did the Tai Chi. That was nice. And now I enjoy the talks that they have. They have a lot of speakers that come in and talk. And then I also, there's a new program, not new, but they had it once before. It's called A Matter of Balance. So Wednesday, there's another group that's starting again, and I'm taking it again, because balance is very important.
Yes.
You know, when you're elderly, I
Absolutely.
don't want to fall. Nobody wants to fall.
Got to stay up.
I've got to stay on my 2 feet. And so that starts at 9:30 in the morning until about 11:30, and then we have lunch. So I like to go on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for lunch, and it's affordable. It's only $2 suggested donation.
Absolutely, yep.
Suggested, so they don't force you to pay $2.
Yep.
But oh
Good
my
meals
goodness,
at the
where
Donna Smallwood
where
Center.
could I get a meal for $2? They give you too much food, really.
You think so?
Yeah, they do. They do. It's too much food for me. Yeah, so sometimes I take a little, not supposed to, but I do. I take some of it home
Yeah.
with me. So have
That's
it
all
for
right.
later.
That's okay.
Yeah.
How long have you been going there? You've been going to the Smallwood Center for a minute.
I've been going. I knew Donna Smallwood before she even, you know, when she was involved with her project here. I was involved with the city of Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah, with my senior ethnic. I started with Senior Ethnic Fine in 1973. So, 73, and then the director of the program died suddenly. He had a heart attack, and so he died, and so they asked me if I would take over. So in 1974, I took over the Senior Ethnic Fine program. So I was no longer an Action Vista.
Yes.
I was a director of the project director of the program.
Wow.
So I was with the city of Cleveland since then until I left in 91. So, but, and I went through all those mayors and never had a problem until White
Yes.
came in. And his whole focus was completely different than what I thought should, you know, I should be involved with. If I'm going to spend my time, I'm going to spend it on something worthwhile.
Absolutely.
You know, not just what he wants.
Well, it
So
all worked out because you got a redirection.
it's, you
opened
know,
up.
there's always something to do. There's always somebody looking for you to do
Yes.
something for them. So I'm available. So I've been going to, the senior center for a long time, help them get built up, help them get moving and doing things. And while she was actively, building that here, I was involved with the other cities too, with Lakewood and all the other suburbs through the City of Cleveland Department of Aging, and when we would have not conventions, but they had Senior Citizen Day every day, and in March they always had Senior Citizen Day. They always had it downtown, so everybody would come downtown, for that big Senior Citizen Day.
Oh, yeah.
So
That sounds very
it was
nice.
always something going on for seniors.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Did you get big turnouts for events like that?
all the time,
Wow.
all the time. Oh yeah, sure. People like to have places to go, and they
Yes.
like to have things to do, and they like to be involved. Yeah, some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just want to stay home. I can't
don't get
understand
that.
why you want to just stay home and do nothing, when you can go out and do everything you can.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have one final question for you. What would you like to be remembered for? When people think of your name, what would you like people to think after that?
That I was a kind, generous person. Yeah, and I like people. I like people, and I like sharing things with them, and giving of myself to people, because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to be available and get along with everybody, be happy.
Yeah. Your kindness and your generosity show through everything you do. I'm serious.
Oh.
All your actions.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie.
I really had a good time interviewing you today.
Well,
Thank
I
you for
enjoyed
meeting
being
me.
with you too.
Thank you.
You'll have to try doing these Easter eggs.
I want to make some. They're so cool. I just don't know if I could be so intricate and have such a delicate hand.
Well, you could do the simple ones. Look at this is kind of simple.
This one here. This one here.
Yeah, that's simple. See? Look at this one. You could do that.
Oh,
Look at
I
that.
don't know.
It's very easy to do.
These are so amazing.
Yeah.
We're caught.
Are you finished?
Yes.
That was great.
Was
No,
it
that was
really?
Great, yeah. And I almost wanted to say, okay, well, we can stop. I almost